So hello friends, I welcome you all in this lecture series on heat transfer practicals. Today we are going to discuss the determination of Stefan-Boltzmann constant. So we can read the aim of the today's trial is to determine the Stefan-Boltzmann constant. To begin with the trial, you shall be clear with these prerequisites that I have listed on the board. Your ideas about these concepts must be clear to understand this today's discussion. First one is radiation. In brief, if I discuss this, radiation is something because of electromagnetic waves. It is a mode of heat transfer, yes, and which is because of electromagnetic waves, which does not need any medium. Every body which has certain temperature definitely radiates, and we know that every body in the universe has some value of temperature. There is no body which has absolute zero temperature. That is why every body in the universe is radiating continuously. So you must be clear about this concept of radiation, and then there is a governing law for that, the very basic law for radiation, that is Stefan-Boltzmann law of radiation, which says us that the heat flux by radiation is directly proportional to 4th power of its absolute temperature. And if we remove that proportionality sign, then there is a constant called as Stefan-Boltzmann constant. If I discuss it in brief, that heat flux, but this is surface area, is directly proportional to the 4th power of surface temperature. This must be in Kelvin, absolute temperature. If I remove this proportionality sign, this will be equal to, this is Stefan-Boltzmann constant, Ts raised to 4. This is for black body. You must be clear about what is meant by black body. It is a hypothetical ideal case of substance surface where its emissivity is 1. So for normal substance, emissivity will have some value. So it is Ts raised to 4 Q upon A. So this is the final form of Stefan-Boltzmann law for any particular substance if it is radiating in the vacuum. If there is some another substance is there, it will also radiate back. So that the form of the equation will change. Okay. So you must be clear about this during the theory lectures. As I said, you must be clear about black body, emissivity, and concept of step factor. So get these ideas clear, and then we'll start the. This is expected that it shall be covered in the theory lectures. Now we will go for the trial. So for that purpose, I will discuss the experimental setup on the board first, and then we will go for the setup. Now let us see the setup diagram. I have drawn on the board. You can observe that there is a hemisphere. So this is a hemispherical shell which is covered with the cylindrical shell. So this is the steel tank, inward steel tank. Below the steel tank there is a hemispherical shell which is made of copper. This material of the hemispherical shell is copper, and below that there is a bakelite plate which is straight. Okay, this is a bakelite plate. At the center of the bakelite plate there is a hole through which we can insert a test disc of 25 mm diameter. So this hatched part is the test disc of 25 mm diameter, 8 grams of weight. Okay, so this is the support for that. Now why we are creating this? Because we want to heat this surface with some means so that it will radiate towards the center of the hemisphere, because the focus of the hemisphere is here. So whatever emissions will take place, they will be collected at the center of the disc. Okay, and that we can record the temperature of the disc is T5. So to heat this copper hemisphere, we have used water. Upper side of the copper hemisphere will be filled with the hot water. To prepare this hot water, we have a tank. So there is a tank at the top of the setup which will be filled with water. At that time the valve will be closed. Once the water is filled, we will switch on the heater. With the help of temperature T6, thermocouple number T6, we can monitor the temperature of this water. Attaining certain value of 90 to 95 degrees Celsius temperature, where the radiation becomes significant, we cannot achieve more than 100 because it is open to atmosphere. So around 95 degrees Celsius we will try to attain the temperature of T6. Once the temperature becomes above 90, we will open this wall. This water will come into this outer casing, this part of the steel tank. So this complete hemisphere will be filled with the water, which is around 90 degrees Celsius. At that time the drain wall will be closed. While filling up this, the drain wall should be closed so that water can be stored here. Once water gets stored here, the copper will get heated. We need not to bother about the heat loss to the atmosphere because we are not dealing with that. We are dealing with the copper. So we wanted the heating source for the copper hemisphere, and that we have used hot water. So this hot water will heat this copper hemisphere. We will wait for sufficient amount of time, let's say 5 to 10 minutes, 10 to 20 minutes, to achieve this steady state. Means what? This 4 thermocouples should show approximately same reading. So once it is uniformly heated from the all directions, it is continuously radiating emissions towards the center of the disc. Take the precaution that when we will leave this water into the hemisphere, outer shell of the hemisphere, do not insert this test disc, take it out. Test disc should be outside the hole before pouring the water. So now the temperature has become constant. T1 to T4 approximately, let us say for example 70 degrees Celsius is there. Now we will insert the test disc. Once the test disc is inserted, at the same time we will have to start the stopwatch, and we will measure the rate of change of temperature. So after each 5 seconds we will record T5, how T5 is increasing. So we will plot that table where at each 5 seconds how the temperature of T5 is increasing. We will take 10 to 20 readings, okay, and that is done. So this will be used for the calculations. So how to use it, what is its significance, I will discuss when I will discuss the calculations. I hope you are clear with the setup diagram. It is simple hemisphere, yes, which is empty from inside. Inner surface of the hemisphere is completely black with the lamp black, so it will act as a black body. Top surface of the disc is also black. Top surface of this bakelite plate is also lamp black. So complete entire inner surface is coated with the lamp black to achieve the black body, close to black body. So once the experiment is over, we can remove this test disc, we can drain this water to protect the tank, okay, and that is done. Okay, so these are the specifications. We can see that diameter of the disc, this disc is 25 mm, that will be required in calculations. Mass of the test disc is 8 grams. This upper portion, this thin plate which is fitted over this rod is test disc, and its mass is 8 grams. And specific heat of that copper, because this is made of copper, the top surface of the disc is made of copper, so specific heat of copper is 418 joules per kg Kelvin. The sphere is selected as a copper because we want higher conductivity, so that whatever water has, it should be conducted fast at the side towards the inner surface. That is why copper is selected as a hemisphere. Outer shell is selected as a steel to protect from the corrosion, and this tank will be fitted with the electrical heater. Okay, so now let us go to the experimental setup. Now we will see that there, and we will go for the readings. So this is the experimental setup to determine the Stefan Boltzmann constant. So here I can observe that this one is the control panel. It is very simple. Here is the temperature indicator which will show us the readings from 1 to 6, and this is switch for the heater which we will use to heat the water, and this is switch for temperature indicator. So nothing difficult in the control panel. Here is our experimental setup. Here we can see that this outer is a shell, cylindrical shell. Inside this cylindrical shell there is a hemispherical shell like this inside this, and below that hemispherical shell there is a bakelite plate. Bottom of this shell has a circular hole of 25 mm diameter, in which the test disc is inserted like this. So you can observe that this is a test disc which is lamp black, which is made of copper and having diameter 25 mm and whose weight is 8 grams. So with the help of this rod, we are going to insert this test disc into the into the hole at the bottom of the backlight plate, and we will start recording the readings. So other parts are, this is the water tank where we have filled water and there is a heater to heat that water. Once we start the heater from the control panel, heater will start heating this water. This is the thermocouple number 6 which will record the temperature of that water. Once it reaches to 90 degrees Celsius, we will switch off the heater and we will on this wall so that water can enter into this cylindrical shell. So it will be covering that hemisphere from upper side. So hemisphere will get heated and later we will insert this test disc from the bottom side. Once the task is done, with the help of this drain valve, we can empty this tank. Okay, so this is the introduction about your experimental setup. Now to start the setup, the first part is to heat this water with the help of heater. So for that purpose, I will switch on the heater. Initial temperature of water is 39 degrees Celsius. The temperature indicator is at T6. So it is showing us the temperature of that water. So that is 39.2 degrees Celsius. So we will switch on this heater. Now the water will get heated after certain period of time and we will monitor this T6. Once it reaches in the range of 90 degrees Celsius, we will switch off this heater and we can start the experiment. So here is the observation table. You can see on the board there are two tables. We are going to take the water temperature as 90 degrees Celsius, that is the water stored in the top tank which will be at 90 degrees Celsius. So at T6 will be approximately 90-91 degrees Celsius, and then once the water is poured into the cylindrical vessel, the temperatures from T1 to T5 will start increasing. Once they become approximately same, we will record these 4 readings and temperature of the test disc when it is outside the hemisphere. So this will be T5 and that will be same as the temperature at time equal to 0, because this is also T5. Okay, this table is also for T5, but this is variation of temperature with respect to time. So what we are going to do, once the test disc is inserted into that particular hemisphere, we will start the stopwatch. So in the beginning, whatever the temperature, this will be the T5. So the same value will come here, and once the stopwatch is switched on, after each 10 seconds, after interval of 10 seconds, we are going to record the temperature of that test disc. So we will monitor T5. Okay, and we will record these 10 readings. So with the help of these 10 readings, we can get the slope of the graph. We will plot them on temperature versus time graph. So we can get some reading, okay, some graph. So at time equal to 0, we will take the slope of that graph. So that will be dt by dt, variation of temperature with respect to time at time equal to 0. This slope will be required for the further calculations. Why it is so, I will explain in detail. So note down this observation table in your notebook and let us go back to the setup to take the readings. So here we can observe that temperature T6 is 80 degrees Celsius. So water in this tank is at 80 degrees Celsius. We shall heat it up to 90 degrees Celsius to make the radiation significant, but for safety purpose we have kept this up to 80 only. So now we are going to pour this water into this cylinder with the help of this valve, and we will allow it for certain period of time to achieve the constant temperatures. Before, the caution is, before pouring this water, the test disc should be outside the cylinder. So we have kept this test disc outside the cylinder. Now we will open this drain valve is closed. With the help of this valve, I will open the water into the lower tank. This is the overflow, so that we can get that the tank is filled. So slowly we will pour this water. The water is very hot, so we shall do it carefully. We can monitor the overflow valve. Once water comes out of the overflow valve, we will close the valve. Okay, so the overflow indicates that this hemisphere is completely filled. Now the care should be taken that this should not be wet. Now we are going to monitor these 5 temperatures, sorry, first 4 temperatures, which will increase now. You can see they are going to increase rapidly. They will set to some value. So let these temperatures settle at some common value, and then we can go for the further process. So they are approximately 55 to 60 degrees Celsius. So it is almost constant. So we can record these first 4 temperatures. So note down T1 as 55.8, T2 60 degrees Celsius, T3 58.9 degrees Celsius, 58.9, and T4 57.9. These are the first 4 temperatures. Now radiation has continuously started. It is coming out of this central hole, but since it is open, radiation is coming out of the sphere. Now we are going to insert this disc. Before that, we will measure its temperature. So initial temperature of that water disc is T5. Record that temperature as 41.9 degrees Celsius, which shall be atmospheric temperature, 41.9 degrees Celsius. Now after each 10 seconds, we are going to record this T5 once I insert this test disc into the hemisphere. So we will start this stopwatch. So once I insert the test disc, start this stopwatch. So please start. Now come near. So at 10 seconds it is 42.5. Then at 20 seconds we will record the reading. At 20 seconds it is 43 degrees Celsius. Then next will be at 30 seconds. So at 30 seconds it is 43.5. Now after 10 seconds, say 40 seconds, it is 43.8. Note down these readings as I dictate. So at 50 seconds it is 44.2. At 60 seconds it is 44.5. Now 1 minute and 10 seconds. Let us wait. It is 44.8. And after 80 seconds it is 45. So that is sufficient, I think. So these are the observations we have recorded from the trial. We have got the surface temperature, we have got the test disc temperature initially, then we have seen the rise in temperature with respect to time. So we can begin the calculations now, where we can find out the surface temperature of the hemisphere by taking the average of first 4 temperatures. So which comes to be 58 degrees Celsius. Very importantly, convert that into kelvins. Then disk temperature, which is 41.9 initially, so which is 314.9 kelvins. Then we have to find out this temperature slope of the temperature distribution curve along time. So dt by dt can be obtained from the graph. So let us see the graph. So here we can see that we have plotted the values for temperature versus time. So on x-axis, time is plotted with 1 centimeter equal to 10 seconds, and on y-axis, temperature is plotted with 4 centimeters equal to 1 degree Celsius. So the initial temperature when the time is 0, it is 41.9. Then subsequently we have plotted the temperatures after each 10 seconds of interval, and we can see the curve. So we have drawn this slope at time equal to 0. So whatever the curvature we have right now here at time equal to 0, we have drawn the slope, that is the tangent to this curve. So if we go forward, tangent will go on becoming slant because the temperature will go on reducing as the time increases. So when the time is 0, the temperature rise is very fast because there is only radiation. Conduction and convection has not started, so the slope will be very steep. So that slope has to be recorded. That is why, to avoid the influence of conduction and convection, only radiation is to be considered, and that is why we take the slope at time equal to 0. So because at time equal to 20 seconds and 30 seconds, convection conduction will become dominant or will become significant. So at time initial phase of the time the convection and conduction has not become significant, so we have to take the slope at time equal to 0. That is why this curve, we have drawn the tangent at the curve at the initial phase, and we got this line. So at this line we can mark any point. So I have marked this point and make a right angle triangle, so that we can get this dt value as 40 degrees Celsius and this temperature difference as 44.5 minus 41.9. So here you can see temperature difference as 44.5 minus 41.9 and time difference as 40 seconds. So finally your dt by dt comes to be at time equal to 0, it comes to be 2.6 divided by 40, that is 0.065. So from this graph we have obtained dt by dt equal to 0.065. Now we using this value of the slope at time equal to 0, we can find out the rise in internal energy of the disk, because from the all sides, if you observe, I hope you have recorded these values so that I can rough it. So what is the mechanism of heat transfer happening here? The hemisphere is emitting all the energy towards the center of the disk, okay, and that is why this mass of the disk, its temperature is increasing with respect to time. So we have found this dt by dt at time equal to 0, and we know the mass of the disk, that is mass of the disk is known 8 grams. We know the CPO value of the disk and dt by dt. So with the mCp delta T we can get the rise in internal energy of the disk. So whatever radiation coming, it is incident on the disk, and that is why internal energy of the disk will increase. That we can compute with the formula. If we put all values, we can get the internal energy rise as 0.2177 joules per second, that is 0.22 watt. So this is the amount of energy disk has received. Now we will compare this energy with the radiation. The same energy is radiated by this surface hemisphere. So how much energy this hemisphere has radiated? If we can write down the formulation for that, from there we can get the value of sigma. So if I write that here, the remaining part of the calculation, we can see that this is hemisphere shell, hemispherical shell, whose surface area, let us say it is AS. The shape factor of the shell with respect to the disk is, let us say, FSD, shell with respect to disk, and FDS is the shape factor of disk with respect to shell, disk with respect to shell, which is 1. Because why the shape factor of the disk with respect to shell is 1? Because all of the radiation emitted by the shell is going to incident on the disk, because disk is covered completely, it is completely covered by the shell, and that is why its shape factor is 1. Area of the disk, we know that pi by 4 d square, 25 mm, 0.025 meter square. So whatever the internal energy rise of the disk will be same as the Q radiation. Whatever the radiation will be same as delta U that we have obtained, and that is same as radiation. So how can we write them? With the help of Stefan Boltzmann's law, that it's constant, Stefan Boltzmann constant, that we want to find out. Emissivity of the surface of the shell multiply by shape factor of the shell with respect to disk, multiply by surface area of the shell, multiply by delta T. Delta T means what? Ts, surface temperature raised to 4 minus disk temperature raised to 4. But here if you modify this formula, we can see this product, shape factor into surface area, remains constant in each case. Every heat transfer taking place, mutual heat transfer between the two surfaces, the product of shape factor and surface area remains constant. We know this. So product of this is constant. So from that we can write down that the shape factor of the shell multiplied by shell area will be equal to shape factor of the disk multiplied by disk area, and we know that the shape factor of the disk is 1. so it becomes 1 into disk area, pi by 4 d square. So this term can be simplified as 1 into disk area. Again we know that the shell is coated with the lamp black, so we can assume it as perfect black body. Its emissivity can be assumed as 1, so that is why emissivity value is 1. We know the delta U from the previous calculations. We have to find out sigma. Emissivity is 1, shape factor has become 1, surface area of the disk is pi by 4 d square, surface temperature in kelvins, disk temperature in kelvins raised to 4. Everything is known, only sigma is unknown. If you put all values, you will get the value of sigma as 0.2023 into 10 raised to minus 8 watt per meter square Kelvin raised to 4. This was the objective of today's trial, to determine the value of Stephan-Boltzmann constant experimentally, and we obtained this value very close to the value of the Stephan-Boltzmann constant, which is accepted universally, which comes to be 5.67 into 10 raised to minus 8 watt per meter square Kelvin raised to 4, which is this value is less than this because there are errors during the experimentation, like there may be the role of convection and conduction, there may be the heat loss from the sphere to the outward side, and the steady state may not be achieved for the hemisphere. So these are the few reasons because of which the value what we have obtained is less than the universally accepted value or standard value. Okay, so this is how we have computed the Stephan-Boltzmann constant by performing the trial on the setup. I expect that you might have understood this. So thank you very much.